As you may recall from my list of the top 10 original movies to look forward to in 2013, my #1 choice was Elysium, Neil Blomkamp's return to the big screen after his impressive debut with District 9. Now, while District 9 imagined an alternate reality where it was aliens who suffered apartheid in South Africa, Elysium imagines a very real fate for all of us around 150 years from now. A world where the wealthy have escaped to a floating space station and left the poor to rot on an inhospitable Earth. And dystopian futures are practically a genre unto itself in Hollywood. And while The Hunger Games might be the most recent entry, today I'd like to point out a few more which excel in the one area Hunger Games fell short, and hopefully Elysium will succeed: world building. On a side note, before I begin this list, perhaps you want to get a pen and paper handy. You might want to watch these films not only to get in the mood for Elysium, but to get an idea of what Blomkamp might be trying and should be trying to accomplish. So let's start at the beginning, Fritz Lang's Metropolis. Produced before sound was even introduced into the cinema, this German silent film set the tone for both dystopian future pics and even sci-fi in general. Here, 2026 is a world divided by wealth and where humans and robots coexist. And just as one can easily assume Occupy Wall Street at least partially influenced Elysium, Metropolis strongly reflected the anger of Germany's working class at the time, although tragically the film became a focal point for the fledgling Nazi Party. So thus the dystopian genre was born, and sadly to some degree a dystopian future was realized with the ultimate rise of the Nazi Party. And while thankfully the Nazis were defeated, mankind's darkest fears for the future remained, and the cinema has continued to serve as one of our greatest warning systems. Take, for instance, society's fascination with youth. In 1976, Logan's Run imagined a world where you only lived to the age of 30. In 1997, Gattaca imagined a world where people were judged by their genetics. And in 2006, Idiocracy imagined a world where society's worst temptations won out via a scenario that is frighteningly plausible. But fascinatingly, the 1980s is one of the best decades for dystopian films. Perhaps because computers were finally starting to enter the home, and it seemed that the future we've been dreaming about was finally on the horizon. And of course, it was an era where greed was considered good, which excited and frightened a lot of people. There was Blade Runner, Ridley Scott's sci-fi noir, which questioned whether or not artificial intelligence had a soul. Next was Terry Gilliam's Brazil, which couldn't help but laugh at the dark future it imagined. And then famously, the original Total Recall, where companies ran planets rather than governments. Finally, the 1980s also produced one of the most impressive animated films of all time, Japan's Akira, where the government tries to harness the most dangerous weapon on Earth, the minds of some of its own citizens. Now, there are, of course, many other dystopian films, but I feel these are the most notable. How will Elysium stack up? We'll have to wait and see as more and more of the film is revealed before its August 2013 release, and then, of course, when we finally get to see it. Do you feel that dystopian films are more than just entertainment, reflections of our own fears and warnings of what could come? And are these warnings at all effective? Be sure to share your thoughts down below. I'm Grace Randolph, and this has been a Movie Bite. You can watch more right now.